This country, we're more highly populated than either India or Pakistan. We've 6% unemployment. We cannot go on taking people at the rate we have been.
One more question. Does that mean that the heads of families who've been admitted here on the understanding and with at present the right to bring their children here may have that right withdrawn?
We want to know how many dependents have the right to come here. If it were 500,000, we just couldn't take them. That's what we're trying to do now. How many are entitled to come? That was why Mr. Whitelaw said get a register of dependents. That's why there's an independent all-party committee sitting on it now. First, find the fact. Then, in fact, you can decide what you'll do about them.
Good evening, gentlemen, and a few of you ladies that may be listening. This is Spiritual Art of War, back at it again with another episode. And this time, kind of going off of the last one, dealing with the birth rate issue. Also kind of wanted to go into the immigration issue that a lot of Western countries have been experiencing. Now, here's the interesting thing. A lot of these, white nationalists that complain about immigration, they purposely don't talk about the fact that their countries, their people went out of their lands in Europe and dispossessed, conquered, genocided, and ruled over other people, enslaved groups of people, forced their language, their religion, their customs, their political structure, and all that on other groups of people. They don't want to talk about that. They only want to talk about what has happened after hundreds of years of this. Okay? Some of you don't even want to even talk about this because you're so embarrassed. You're so ashamed of your history. And we're going to keep shaming you about your history. Okay? We're going to throw it in your face and let you know that you're the reason why, your people are the reason why the world is the way it is that you're complaining about. You cannot complain about low birth rates when you literally destroyed whole sets of people. You destroyed their whole culture. So you're talking about your culture being erased. There's whole cultures that don't even exist anymore. The Tasmanian people no longer exist. Let me tell you a story about that. When I was growing up, and if you're a millennial, you know this. On Fox, there was a show called, The Tasmanian Devil, which is a cartoon of a Tasmanian animal known as the Tasmanian Devil that would, go crazy, and he would get pissed off and, do a tornado spin and yell and scream. And as a kid, you're laughing at this particular show, not even realize the story behind the land and the people that particular animal was named after. Those people were extinct by those so-called white settlers. They no longer exist. They don't have no culture to speak of. There is nobody speaking the Tasmanian language or keeping their customs. Okay? So these people are worried about, y'all are fearful of a thing that you actually did on earth. That's the crazy thing. So that to me is just more of a reaping what you sow. Because at the end of the day, people, so-called white people globally own a disproportionate amount of the world's wealth, and they got it through robbery, through deception. Okay? That's how they received it. They did not get it through proper trade deals. They got it through deceiving other people. So we have to understand is that when these people talk about these things, they never talk about the history of how did we get to this point that we're at in this day and time in 2025. Ask these same people if they would like another group of people to sell the sea and come and conquer and force their culture, names, religion upon them, and then force labor upon them. And then after forcing labor, continue to gaslight them and demonize them as being lesser than. They wouldn't like that, but they are okay with it as long as they're doing it. And that's the reality about these white nationalists. They want to be the ones doing it. They don't want to be the victims of it. And here's the thing. they don't even really, they act like they don't believe in karma, but deep down inside, your fear is the things that you did to others will be done unto you. And then you try and use Christianity to say you shouldn't do that to your enemy. That's what you told a lot of groups of people that you put Christianity on. You flipped the Bible the wrong way, and then you told them that they shouldn't do to avenge themselves or to do unto you as you did unto them. See, there's groups out here that on the planet, they don't believe in that. The Chinese don't believe in that. The Arabs don't believe in that. A lot of these different groups, the Iranians sure don't believe in that. They don't believe that they should not basically get their get back. You can fool a lot of people that you conquered. You can fool a lot of people that you gave these false ideologies to, but you're not going to fool the whole world in how they're seeing you today. And the fact is that you have low birth rates because of what you're doing and what you're not doing. Okay? Y'all have all the wealth. Y'all have all the power and influence. How come you can't use that to get your woman in line so y'all can start having babies? Oh, I forgot. Y'all created the pill and feminism as a way to really control the black population, but it was then used by your elites upon you to control your population as well. And it's actually having more of an effect on you than any other group of people that you put it on outside of the East Asians, like the Japanese and the Koreans. And the reason why the Japanese and Koreans got like that is because you, after these different wars, the Korean War and the World War II, you came and imposed your will upon them and emasculated their men and made their women to be like men and to be, workers like them and contributors, and told them they should get bank accounts and have access to property and things like that. And now those women became independent, and now they're really so independent that they don't even want to even have babies with a man. So now they're over there not even giving birth to children. They're doing all kind of tax breaks to try and influence these people to do it. And the thing about it is, in those countries like Japan and South Korea, they don't believe in having immigration. So they would rather try and figure it out than to get outsiders to come in and migrate to keep their population up so they can have a tax base for their elderly that they want to take care of. They'd rather do that. Okay? They'd rather figure it out than to do that. And it's failing. It's failing them. And it's coming to an head that everybody's going to come to the realization that what the European colonizer, who's been running rampant throughout the world for the last 500 plus years, since 1492, okay, and imposed their will upon the world, their philosophy. The reason why look at the type of political systems that people practice. It's come from these people, man. That's just what it is. And the world is falling apart, man. And when the family unit is falling apart globally because of what they implemented on the earth, that's where the men are going to come to a conclusion and say, where did this stuff come from? Why are our women like this? And they're going to realize it's coming from the European, the Greco-Roman, the Edomite, as I call him. The Bible calls him that. That's a whole nother story. Okay? So they're coming to the conclusion, and they're going to realize, you know what? The world is going to be better without them in power and having influence. And that's what's really going to happen. That's really happening right now. That's really some of the discussions that's happening with other groups of people. I don't have to tell you. I'm going to just tell, you know what I'm saying? I don't got to tell them. Y'all know, because y'all having this white nationalist preservation, 14 words, all this stuff that y'all are on. Y'all think y'all going to have a last hurrah to keep everything going the way that y'all want. That ain't happening. Things must come to an end. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as you being able to push this type of stuff, and it's backfiring in so many different ways, and people are not going to deal with it. Men are going to figure out that they're going to have to deal with it. And I don't got to be one of the men to do it. You know who your enemies are. You know your main enemies are that are coming up against you when it comes to global dominance. It ain't the so-called black people of America. Sure ain't the Latinos. Sure ain't the natives of these various groups that you dispossess. You look at them as they're weak. So guess what? They're going to sit back and get their popcorn ready and watch your downfall. Okay? See, they complain about this stuff, but they're the main ones. Y'all are the ones that started this stuff. Ask these people ask these same white nationalists if they believe that it would have been better for them and their descendants have just stayed in Europe and never ventured out of Europe? They cannot answer that question because they're greedy. They want everything for themselves, and they absolutely love dominating, humiliating, and destroying other groups of people. So that would not allow them to do that. Would not give them the opportunity to do that. They want to do that. That is what partially drives them. Okay, that's what makes them feel alive. Okay, they don't believe in being isolationists. These people went out of their way to get Japan out of isolation. Look it up. Japanese were isolationists. They went out of their way to get their Japanese from being isolationists. When they wanted to be left alone on them islands and deal with their own situation, like they have been doing for hundreds of years. Go and watch that Last Samurai movie, man. These people, bruh. It's just very funny how they operate and think, man. But it is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it like that because we can definitely get deeper, and we sure will. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.